You know Ruto is a slave, right?
Yeah.
He's a slave.
Yes,
He's a slave.
Why are you saying
I'm
that?
from Haiti.
That's why you're
We are
saying
here
that.
today to protest against what Ruto is about to do.
Yes?
Yes.
Why
William
Why do you think it's a bad thing? It's a bad thing.
No,
what
you
he's
want to
doing.
invade Haiti?
Yeah.
Is President William Ruto aware that his close relationship with Americans, or rather the American government, could be putting Kenya in jeopardy somehow? Now, as Kenya's 5th president is currently in America for his state visit, not everyone is pleased with his presence there, particularly Haitian residents in America. Many of these residents perceive Ruto as an American puppet used to oppress his own people. Haitians in the US protested in Washington, D.C., denouncing President William Ruto as a puppet and a traitor to his nation. There is a widespread belief that the US government will use President William Ruto to advance their agenda against both her enemies and fellow Africans.
US puppet! US puppet! Still a slave! Still a slave!
US puppet! 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 US puppet!
This protest was sparked by Ruto's decision to deploy over 1,000 Kenyan police officers to a UN-sanctioned mission in Haiti, aimed at tackling the Haitian gang led by Shirizia Barbecue, much of which is funded by the US government, by the way.
Si Ariel Henry pas démissionné, pays a aller droite. Non, on fait un génocide. Si Ariel Henry pas démissionné, si la communauté internationale là continue à supporter Ariel Henry, il a mené nous directement dans une guerre civile et cap déboucher sur un génocide.
Haitians argue that their issues should be resolved internally and reject external intervention. Now, the irony lies in the proximity of the US to Haiti compared to Kenya, with the USA being only 3,398 kilometers away, while Kenya is approximately 12,078 kilometers away from Haiti. One may question why the US government, being closer to Haiti, doesn't dispatch its own police force there. Instead, they are busy supporting the deployment of the Kenyan police to Haiti. Could there be a secret agreement between the US government and President William Ruto, explaining his eagerness to send officers to Haiti? Now, some speculate on such a possibility. President Ruto seems convinced that it falls upon Kenya to address Haiti's security concerns. When queried by Kenyan journalist Ayub about this seeming contradiction, given Kenya's own security challenges such as banditry, President Ruto justified the decision by citing requests from Kenyan citizens, portraying it as a duty of Kenya to contribute to a global peace and stability.
Isn't it ironic that while America is ending its forever wars in Afghanistan, the latest in 2021, under your leadership, when you withdrew troops from Kabul, and that you're committing Kenya to another foreign wars 12,000 kilometers away from Nairobi? I mean, why the discrepancy? Why the dichotomy? While you're ending your forever wars, overseas wars, yet you're committing Kenya to Haiti. Can you explain that?
Very easily. There's a reason why Afghanistan has been known as the graveyard of empires. The likelihood of anybody uniting Afghanistan is highly, highly, highly unlikely, number one. Number two, there are ways to control ISIS other than occupying Afghanistan. It was an unnecessary need. Now, with regard to Haiti, Haiti is in an area of the Caribbean that is very volatile. There's a lot going on in this hemisphere. And we're in a situation where we want to do all we can without us looking like America once again is stepping over and deciding this is what must be done. Haitians are looking for help, as well as the folks in the Caribbean are looking for help. And so we checked out with a number of other countries. The one who stepped up was Haiti. We committed to provide wherewithal the intelligence and equipment and the like to Haiti. And so it's a logical thing. And you have a first-rate capability and you keep your word. That's an important dynamic.
I agree with President Biden that Kenya's participation in Haiti is not so much about what happened in the past. It's about what we believe in, the peace and security of humanity. And we don't find that the U.S. is committing Kenya because the U.S. cannot commit Kenya. I am the president of Kenya. It's me to make that decision. And it's the people of Kenya to commit their own troops using their own structures. We've gone through the processes in Kenya. Parliament has approved. We have a clear mandate. We have a clear framework. And it is us, the people of Kenya, who made this decision in the interest of serving peace and stability as a responsible global citizen and understanding that insecurity, instability anywhere is insecurity and instability everywhere.
But are the Kenyan police officers adequately prepared for the mission in Haiti? Their departure, initially scheduled for May 23rd, was abruptly delayed without official clarification. Sources within Kenya's Ministry of Interior hinted at issues with Haiti's readiness to accommodate the Kenya police, including incomplete barracks constructions to house them. Remember that the first wave of the 1,000 police officers left the country for Haiti on May 19th, just 2 days after former presidential aspirant Ekuru Aukot moved to court to challenge their deployment once again. Aukot claims that despite the courts barring the president from deploying these officers, the president committed contempt of court and other irregularities. A man who vowed to protect the Constitution of Kenya during his swearing in is now disregarding the same constitution at the expense of the lives of these officers. Now, the High Court has scheduled the hearing for June 2nd. Remember, it was our court who temporarily stopped the police deployment in January after moving to court, and the court ruled the deployment illegal and unconstitutional. However, in March, President Ruto and Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry signed a bilateral agreement to circumvent this ruling. Now, President Ruto was required by law to publish the bilateral agreement regarding the proposed deployment in the Kenyan Gazette to inform the public. However, despite his claims that Kenyans had given him the go-ahead, he has not yet published the agreement. Our court's argument is based on the fact that Ruto's failure to publish the agreement in the Kenyan Gazette indicates he is acting in bad faith. Despite the court's injunctions against the deployment, President Ruto and his government have remained silent on the court's decision and have vowed to proceed with the deployment. Surprisingly, a batch of officers is already on their way to Haiti, with the remaining ones set to join them in the coming weeks. Now, this deployment was carried out secretly, allegedly to avoid public protests due to the negative reception of the mission by the Kenyan public and civil society activists. Meanwhile, Haitian gangs have threatened to retaliate against anyone interfering in their affairs, indicating that they will not spare the Kenyan police. Now, President Ruto's decision to deploy these officers has left a section of Kenyans worried that he is setting them against Haitians, as the majority of Haitians oppose the deployment.
Beautiful.
You know Ruto is a slave, right?
Yeah.
He's a slave. He's a slave.
Why are you saying
I'm
that?
from Haiti.
That's why you're
We are
saying
here
that.
today to protest against what Ruto is about to do.
Yes?
Yes.
Why
William
the-
Why you
Ruto.
think it's a bad thing? It's a bad thing.
No,
what
he
he's
want to
doing.
invade Haiti
Yeah.
with
Still a slave. Still a slave. Still a slave.
That one US occupation.
power to the people.
That one US occupation.
Power to the people.
That one Kenya occupation.
Power to the people.
That one Kenya occupation.
Power to the people.
That one US occupation. Kenya